Good morning, dearies. Welcome to Tessa, the Art of Life. In today's episode, I am going to paint a rose in watercolors, and it's a tutorial so you can follow along. If you aren't subscribed to the channel, please consider doing so. And if you like this video, do give it a thumbs up. In this channel, I share everything I know about painting, writing and photography. The watercolor paint I'm using is from Winsor & Newton, and the colors that I'll be using today is rose, mad hue, hook green and sap green. I also got white and Payne's grey and burnt umber, but I actually ended up not using them at all, only the grey for my signature. If you only want to get the exact colors that I'm using, those three are the ones to go after. I've also linked them below in the description box. The paper I'm using is a 180 grams acid-free cold-pressed paper. I'm going to link one that is equal to mine below. I'm using mostly a flat brush, a Winsor & Newton number 4, for this painting, but if you only have round ones, they will work just as well. My little round brush I use only to sign this painting. Now, there are all kinds of roses out there, and there are so many ways that you can paint a rose. For so many years I thought that painting a rose was a very complicated thing, and it can be. It can be as complicated or as easy as you make it. That's the beauty of a rose. It comes in all variety and shapes and sizes, and it's a very, very old flower, and I totally adore it. In today's episode, we are going to make a very easy kind of rose and not very complicated one. That I will save for later. If you like, you can follow along. Let's get to it, shall we? This type of rose we are going to be painting is a rather easy one. When you think of a rose, you don't see it as a complex flower with all of its individual petals built up in layers. Instead, you look at it as a shape. The rose has a round shape, and that's what we're going after today. Now, I'm starting with a lighter wash of the rose mad hue, and when I start to make the rose, I begin at the center. We are going to paint 3 roses, so I'm placing them one at the lower end of the paper, one in the middle, and the last one at the other lower end of the paper. I'm making a small C shape, and on the opposite side a little bigger C shape. Then slightly above, overlapping a bit, I make a little broader C shape, and then I continue to build like that as I feel it fits, making each section a little bit broader than the other one before. I try not to keep them a regular shape, to be individual. Now see to it that you have enough water on the brush, and it might be a good idea, if you're not used to painting with watercolors, that you make one rose at a time. Of course, we are going to go over them a couple of times, adding a bit more paint each time. It might dry out otherwise, and you won't get that lovely watercolor effect that we want. You can see one of my roses didn't get enough water, so I had to add some. Well, you can do that a bit if it hasn't dried out too much, but it's quite stressful, and it's easier if you get enough water in the beginning. Then again, you should try not to get too much water either, because if you do, you might get a runny effect, or you get puddles, and that isn't so pretty when it has finally had time to dry. So now we go over the roses once more, and we are adding some more paint. And after that, we go over the rose once again, so you can see that the rose gets a little bit more depth. Now it's time to add the leaves, and I go in with a lighter wash of the sap green to form a stem, and it's going to go in a flowing motion through the whole picture. So I decided that I will divide this stem into two. The first stem goes from the last rose and a bit down, and now we'll form some leaves going from the stem. The leaves don't have to be attached to the stem, but can sort of float in the air a bit. And when shaping the leaves, I leave a bit of the paper in the middle without any paint. That part will later shape the internal structure of the leaf, making it look a bit more realistic. Like before, see to it that you have enough water on the leaves, but not too much. Then I take a bit of hook green and I add some dots here and there to the leaves and also to the stem. I also go in with some darker shades of sap green, doing the same thing as with the hook green, dotting it. Now the leaves get to work their magic and the paint gets to spread as it wishes. This is the true fun with watercolors. You just get to sit back and watch as it makes its way to completion. As it's working, we continue with the next part of the stem. We shape the stem as an S shape and adding leaves to it where we feel they fit. As before, we go in with dark green and light green, and we dot and let the leaves sit and let the watercolors do their magic. After the leaves are done, I go in and add some crown leaves with sap green. This is easily made with a few thinner strokes here and there, and do it as you see fit. Then, when you feel you're done, you sign it and you let it dry before touching it. Now, if you decide to paint these roses, do tag me with Tessa. May it be Facebook, Instagram, Tumblr or Twitter. Now, I hope you liked this video, and if you aren't subscribed to the channel, please consider doing so. I have a lot of tutorials coming up, and if you like the video, do give it a thumbs up and maybe even share it. Until next time, bye lovelies.